There's the kind of night where I'm just coming up inside my mind. And there's nights where I just wanna go out and have a good time. I guess Harry, and you know, when the daytime has no shape, and then you gotta share it with 4 eyes onto different escapes. By the window you are leaning on the meaning of the gloom, and up there she is shining in the skyline, my banana moon. In the bottle I am tumbling, kind of mumbling.
Welcome back, viewers. James Kalm, the half-assed reporter, the guy on the bike. We're on Great Jones Street now, and we're going to drop into the Eric Firestone Gallery and take a look at a very interesting historical exhibition, J. Milder Broadway Nonstop. Stay tuned. Okay, so J. Milder Broadway Nonstop, subway paintings from the 1950s and 60s. We'll do our sweep of the installation. Oh gosh, we've got a whole wall of this is temper on paper, gouache. It's titled Subway Rider number 13, 1958, oil and volcanic ash on canvas. .36 by 36. I actually known Jay's daughter, Rivka, for many years, and well, she always talked about her dad, how proud she was of him, and how deeply he was engaged with the painting scene here in New York back in the 50s and 60s. And then I started doing some research. This is Subway Runner Spray number 4, 1960. Anyway, I started to bump into Jay's work and some of the books about the 50s, and I got very interested. This is a nice piece, and she's got spray paint in here. That's pretty advanced for, let's say, 1960, yeah. And actually it's, looks like it's held up pretty well. So that's 56 by 60 inches. Anyway, I was working on a map of the Bowery that ended up growing into a show. This is titled Turquoise Runner. It was a map showing a lot of the galleries and artists that had lived on the Bowery. And one of the people that came to the show was Lynn Gumpertz, who is the curator at the Gray Art Museum down on Washington Square. It's part of NYU. And she started talking about the history of a show that they put together there called Inventing Downtown. So, art nerd that I am, I went and got a copy of the book, and well, it turns out that Jay is one of the featured artists in the show, or in the catalog. This is Yellow Subway Runner. And Jay was involved with a group of people that started a couple of galleries. One of the people he used to hang out with was Red Grooms, and another artist, Bob Thompson. And well, as I said, as I continued my research, there was a whole generation, maybe 2 generations of artists in New York that started out in some co-op galleries on East 10th Street. And I think Jay and Red actually started a gallery called City Gallery that was over in what is now called Chelsea. I think they were at 6th Avenue and 23rd or 4th Street. I came in last summer and they had a painting in the show by Jay from this series, and I took a look at it and said, gosh, I can sense some things in here that make me think of the CoBrA painters, Carl Apple, Asker Yorn, and some of those people. And then as I said, as I continued my research, I found out that Jay had spent some time, I guess, studying in Europe and was probably familiar with these guys. Anyway, the thing that attracted me is that Jay was painting, using a very physical facture, a very chunky surface, and kind of coming in at the end of action painting, abstract expressionism, when the New York scene was kind of turning towards more the neo-dada and proto-pop stuff. But there was a group of artists downtown that kept painting with a lot of paint. This is Subway Runner number 2. It's 1964. And, well, Jay is still alive, still around. I talked to him a couple of months ago. He's probably in his mid-late 80s. Oh, this is one of the great things about seeing an old painting like this is you really get a chance to see some interesting things that happen with a blob of paint over 50 or 60 years. So they're calling this Red Subway Runner. (1964). Oil and volcanic ash on canvas. think the other thing that's interesting is that I was talking about how the paint changes over the decades and ultimately over the centuries, but I think most of this is fairly alla prima, and looks like it's holding up pretty darn well. It's titled Hamlet, 1961. Oil and volcanic ash. This is 48 by 48. I wonder if there's some special quality that the volcanic ash gives the paint that attracts or attracted Jay to that substance. Okay, here's another interesting thing is that I think Jay initially showed this series with the Martha Jackson Gallery, maybe in the mid-60s. And I think Martha is one of these people that has been unsung and has recently kind of undergone a rediscovery. She gave a lot of people their first major exposures. I think Jay was one of them, Bob Thompson. One of my favorites, Alfred Jensen, I think got his first major shows with her. I think she also championed a lot of female artists. I think Louise Nevelson was working with her. Some other people. This is Untitled, 1963. This is maybe one of the smaller pieces in the show. Again, looks like Jay is painting with a 3 or 4 inch palette knife, putty knife. Okay, let's go in the back room. This is Untitled, 1964. 36 by 36. Just calling the Subway Runner, 1963. 69 by 69. Well, one of the interesting things I like about the Eric Firestone Gallery is that Eric kind of rediscovers artists that have kind of fallen out of the spotlight, and in some cases even kind of pulls out entire art movements that have been pushed to the margins. And I think Jay and a whole group of his friends down here kind of represented a parallel universe of painting that, well, it was popular for a while, but then it's, I guess, due to the historic streamlining and other forces, has been kind of forgotten. And I was talking about Jay and Red Grooms and some other people. There was a whole movement down here called the Rhino Horn Group, I think. Jay might have been involved with that. If it wasn't, he was at least friends with some of those people. This is the Lime subway runner. I think this is the one I saw last summer. I was really impressed with the color Jay is using. Some of these magentas and chartreuses are fantastic, and they were like, have been very popular in the last couple of years. It's like Jay was living in a parallel time warp, and a lot of this stuff has become fashionable again. I guess we've got a whole wall here of gouaches. I'm not going to give you the titles of all these. They're basically in around the 30 by 36 inch size category. Oh, he really lets himself go with his colors in some of these. I've also been listening to some lectures by Hal Foster recently, and he's talking about the new brutality, somehow with the end of World War II, because a lot of people got cynical about the rationality and the civilized notions of the Enlightenment and all that. And, well, some people have theorized that that's one of the reasons that we fell into World War II and totalitarian socialism and Nazism and all that stuff. Anyway, this would be a good example of someone trying to go back to a more primordial source of imagery and expression. This is untitled 1962, 48 by 48. So this has been James Kalm reporting on J. Milder, Broadway Nonstop. Paintings from the 1950s and 60s here at Eric Firestone. Well, we're gonna run in here and try to get some pictures of Mariana Oushiro supernova. Well, I was just out pedaling around doing what I do, dogging the neighborhood, seeing if I could get some interesting B-roll. There's Ford Kroll. I didn't see anything interesting at the Lower East Side, so I thought I would pedal over to Chelsea and, well, I always enjoy seeing what VITO's got happening. Okay, we'll sweep around down here in the basement, or the lower gallery. Okay, that's impressive. We'll start here. This is If Not Change Movement Part 1, 2022. This is a big painting. Well, they're all big. This is 140 by 75 inches. Okay, so roughly we're talking about 12 by 6 feet. And I guess all these pieces are charcoal, pastel, oil paint, and dry pigments on raw cotton. I think one of the things that VITO likes, and maybe that's because he inherited it from his father, was the preference for large paintings. It's almost impossible, even though we're in a pretty large gallery, it's almost impossible to squeeze these into the view field. This is Speaking of a Spirit on Fire 2022. Charcoal, pastel, oil paint, and dry pigment on raw canvas. Well, I didn't read the press release, but I was getting some of the scuttlebutt from local art heads. It turns out that Mariana is actually 30 years old. And I understand that she's also worked as a studio assistant for Ronnie Landfield, who was in a little show that I curated on the Bowery about a month and a half ago. Okay, this is interesting. I like the way that Mariana has kind of collaged these two canvases together. We've got a seam in the middle, and yeah, so this is raw cotton duck. A couple of the remarks I heard before I even came in was, these are some big damn paintings, and the other thing was that they've got a bottomless supply of wine. Rider in the Starts, Part 1. It seems like there's actually a kind of a revival recently of people using a lot of the abstract expressionist tropes, the scale, the raw canvas, the kind of action painter approach to the performance. the canvas is the area of a happening. Also, I think the way that Mariana has limited her palette down to the blacks, browns, whites, and the raw cotton duck is kind of indicative of the abstract expressionists. Written in the Starts, Part 4. These are almost like, I guess the term is a pandella. It's like the outer edges of a triptych. So these kind of these narrower ones bounce off the large pieces. This is 140 by 70. So this is one of those 70 by 140s laid horizontally. I kind of like that. It's just the blacks, whites, and grays. Mariana's got a nice kind of a sweep. I was saying that everyone was talking about the size of the paintings. The other thing they were talking about is, darn, we all wish we had studios that were big enough that we could work on paintings this size. Actually, I'm kind of liking her white lines here as well. Okay, we do have a little blue in there. Doesn't really break up the blacks and grays that much. This may be the artist right here. Are you the artist? Congratulations. Okay. This is a nice wall. Another extremely large piece. It's titled Supernova 2021. Well, I was going to say this is only the middle of March, and I think most of these pieces were finished in 2022. I don't know whether they were started in 2022, but Mariana must have been very busy. Again, we got a very limited palette, although I was getting a little echo of Julie Morato, some of her early works, except her stuff was all extremely mediated. Actually, I like this piece. This is Open Wild Mariana Oushiro at MoMA 2021. It's 120 by 140, so this is about 12 by 10 feet. I was actually looking at this and thinking, gosh, that almost looks like a Picasso portrait. One of his Maria Teresa paintings. I like the fact that this one is not so congested, and the canvas has not been walked on and patinaed as much as some of the other pieces. Although she's got her footprints in there, I think. Size 7. Untitled 2021. This is only 90 by 137. Again, just the blacks, whites, and grays. Maybe some light blues in there. Okay, so she's using some enamel paint here. We had a discussion with Peter Atchison. This is probably 7 or 8 months ago at this point, and we were talking about some of his friends, particularly Chris Martin, and the whole idea of what the scale of the paintings means. Scrabbling until it becomes a drawing. 90 by 135. Oh, and she's got her big signature here. Well, of course, when you see the scribbles like this, you think of who? Psy who? I would say that the way that Mariana kind of overworks these and has the whole surface kind of homogenized with the marks. A picture of me?
With you. I
want a picture with me?
Yeah,
sure. Always important to encourage the fans. As I was saying, I think one of the things that's nice about the way that Mariana works the surfaces and kind of it gives you the feeling that she's like rubbed the entire surface, is that it kind of sets out a base, a ground on which to work, and then she can go with the lights or darks and sort of build her forms up. It's another big piece. It's titled Baby Blue. It's 132 by 184 inches. Well, probably before you see this, I will have posted a Joe Bradley show that's just around the corner, and he's got a couple of paintings that are maybe this size, maybe not quite as big. I'm thinking that there's some interesting things about this. One of them is that Mariana actually kind of treats these like large drawings. A lot of this is just raw canvas. It would be interesting to see how these hold up 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Also, it seems like there's a real obvious intention to make these pieces look scruffy, so Mariana probably lays them on the floor, walks around on them. Who knows, maybe gets her dog or something. You can see some footprints, a lot of handprints. Yeah, let's see if we can see a handprint up there. I don't think I've got the titles for the pieces down here in the basement, so we'll just take a see the pants approach to this. I would say this is probably about 80 by 120. So this is 7 by 10 feet. Looks like it's oil charcoal. Oh, maybe she's got some enamel splashed in there. So she is doing something that's like, maybe those are sneaker marks? I think this is maybe a little bigger, so 6.5 by 10, something like that. I was thinking this also kind of makes me think of some of the futurists. The crystallized planes, the fragmented shapes, the energy, and then the kind of the warped fragments. Okay, so that's nice. And this, what am I calling this? I like white gold over blue rest white tone paper. Well, this is a work on paper. Looks like she's got some press type in there. Okay, that's fun. VITO SCHNABEL Gallery. Okay. Thank you, Vito, for letting me stay over late. On my way. Go out that way? Absolutely. Just let me wrap up here. Thank you. This is James Kalm reporting on Mariana Oushiro Supernova here at VITO SCHNABEL Gallery. You can like this, share, post it at all your social media sites, and you can subscribe, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and reviews below. We just want you to say, well, thanks, Vito. Thanks, Marina, and of course, thank you, Kate. Banana Moon. Robert Leslie, thank you.